Hello and welcome to Gorilla and the Geek, the podcast for sweaty nerds by sweaty nerds. My name is Kyle from Geeks Weekly, and I'm joined, as always, by my good pal, John the Ginger Gorilla. John, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Another day living in quarantine paradise, dude.
Yeah, paradise is a word. But one thing that quarantine did offer us is a lot of opportunity to binge shows. But one show in particular did not afford us that opportunity for its second season like it did with its first. And that show would be The Boys. The Boys season 2 premiered last month. We got an 8-episode season once again. However, the way they released it was completely different. The first 3 episodes were available right away, and then the preceding 5 weeks or 4 weeks, I can't remember which one, were weekly episodes. I believe 5. So John and
Five.
I, big yeah, John and I, big fans of the show, decided why not discuss it on the pod. I was actually personally unsure of how I wanted to discuss the show. I've been doing a couple of reviews on the Geeks Weekly channel, but it just wasn't as fun as I thought maybe discussing it in a long form podcast would be. And I know John is an avid watcher himself. So this is our spoiler warning. We are going full blown, in depth, talking every
Some
single detail.
some may say we're going deep.
Yeah, we're going. Ha. Not deep like him though. He's a pretty bad person. I don't think we're that awful. But
Yeah.
we're going we're going good. So John, first off, I wanted to get your thoughts on how you felt coming into the season. Did you have any expectations for where the story was going to go, or were you just kind of open to seeing what they had to offer us?
To be honest, I had no idea where the story was necessarily going to go after last season. Last season, just as a review, ended with Butcher kind of just going unconscious on the front lawn of his wife's house and seeing a child, which we all presume to be Homelanders, which was true. And right, and then that's kind of where it really ended. I don't remember if we got a full wrap up with the rest of the crew at the end of last season.
Well, I mean, we had it, to say wrap up is kind of difficult. We kind of had a solidified version of what the crew was going to be, I guess.
Yeah.
We had a, if you want to call it like a sort of resolution to the conflict between A Train and Huey, and that
Hmm.
they saved A Train's life. But otherwise, yeah, it was kind of a cliffhangery
Yeah,
ending to
like
that
you didn't
season.
really know where they all ended up necessarily, but you
Yeah,
knew they were kind of together still. Um, so going into this season, I just wanted to be entertained necessarily. With what the first season gave me, I knew that the writers, and if they didn't do any major changes between the people behind the scenes, that it would just be I think we'd another solid season again. Um, and I think that could continue and continue as long as they keep a core people working on it, and not switching things up every season or whatever. Um, I think that for overarching television, which I think this is going to be a series where there's maybe a storyline going all throughout it. And that's kind of what I'm hoping it is. That you need the same writers. Don't pull a Game of Thrones where you switch it up at the end and they just screw everything that the early years worked on. Um, but I just wanted a good television show with a solid storyline and the aspects of the first season of maybe some gore here, some like shocking moments of like, oh my god, I just watched someone explode um several times throughout this season. Which we get to again, watch people explode several times throughout the season. And it's always fun because it's just so over the top with it too. But that's a tangent. I just wanted a good show. And I think that was definitely the outcome of the season. What about you, Kyle?
yeah. So for me, I mean, I was pretty floored by the first season of The Boys. Number one, I never knew anything about the comic book property prior
Same.
to watching the show. I also, I mean, I watched it on your recommendation. I'd seen trailers for it, and I thought that it looks cool, but you were like, no, no, no. Seriously, it's like it's more than just like a cool concept. It's actually a really good show. So I gave it a watch, and I mean that show prompted my first ever analysis video, and that kind of, I guess it holds like a special place in my brain now because of that. Like I thought that there was such incredible, very, how should I put this? I guess you could say a very subtle through line through a lot of the characters of the first season. I discussed in the video how I thought the show had an overarching story of whether or not letting your circumstances define you. And I thought that was really impeccable writing. This season I was kind of aware that it's hard to do that more than once. You know, it's kind of like lightning in a bottle sort of stuff when you land a whole season of a television show, albeit only 8 episodes. But doing that more than once is kind of like, I feel like it's a generational thing. Like it's kind of like seeing like a Tom Brady. Like you're not gonna have one of those every 5 years. You know, it's
Yeah.
something that happens very rarely.
Hmm.
So came into the season expecting, all right, I just want like the show, kind of like yourself, to be entertaining and to at least be a little bit impactful and maybe not fall into some tropes that I was worried it was going to. But right off the bat, I kind of wanted to say this, and I wanted to get your thought on this. Originally, I was all for the idea of weekly releases.
Hmm.
However, I'm not sure the story the season told really aided the weekly release schedule.
Um,
I'm wondering if the season would have been better being a full binge.
Interesting. Yeah, because like I get that. Um, with the sense of there wasn't necessarily cliffhangers at the end of every episode, which is I think a weekly release type of formula, maybe. That makes you feel and want that next one. Which I was excited every Friday that it came out, but it
Yeah,
wasn't something where I was like, as soon as Friday hit, I was like, I need to watch it. I was like, oh, cool, the new episode's out. I'm gonna watch it. I'll watch it by the end of the weekend latest. Like, I didn't wait until midday the next week to watch any. Um, but I I just like that idea of not just getting through it in a weekend, because then it lends where we can do this, right? If this was something that came out, let's say all at once, we could do this, but it wouldn't have as much of like impact on it. For the fact that who knows when people watch it, right? You can't necessarily have a conversation with all your friends like we were able to have every week. Like we'd get on stream or we'd get whenever we'd play video games, we were able to be like, "Oh my god, did you see the latest episode?" And he'd be like, "Yeah," and then we'd be able to break down each episode individually. Not necessarily where like if I binge watched it all in the first weekend, and then let's say you watched it over a course of a month, or let's say 2 weeks, whatever, then it might have different feels for us
yeah,
too. So I like the fact that it's over. Um, I still like the idea of episodic. I still wish, and I get what they did. They gave us you 3 episodes to kind of get like the hook. Um, but one, I would have liked a longer season, or just let those episodes episodic also. And weekly, not episodic. So that it felt longer. Like I felt like it still went by quick, right? And I'm like,
yeah,
with this, it's a 8 episode season, which is short, and it's weird that they only did 8 episodes. Maybe they just didn't have the budget with maybe all the effects they have to do within this show. Um, but they're already renewed for a season 3, so like they're investing in it. But so like, why is it so short? I don't know.
yeah. So that's one of my bigger gripes with the season. I understand that the first season I believe was 8 episodes as well, but for me, I think that I'm going to read off to you the subplots that I jotted down off the top of my head this morning from the entire season. We have Homelander trying to have a relationship with his son. We have Huey trying to find his place within the group. We have Starlight trying to find her way within the Seven. We have Kimiko's relationship with Frenchie. We have Kimiko's kind of conflict that never really went anywhere, really, with Stormfront. We have everything that Stormfront was doing with trying to uprise the Nazis again, as well as a relationship with Homelander. We have Butcher and Becca. We have slight stuff with Becca and Ryan. We have the Deep and A Train trying to get back into the Seven while joining a cult. And we also have Mother's Milk trying to possibly go home and see his family. That is a lot of stuff to cram into 8 episodes. Now I understand that they are hour-long episodes, and they were able to make it work. However, I think that some of the storylines that they introduced were kind of falling flat for me, and I was hopeful that they would pick back up by the end of the season, but some of them didn't. I think that the Kimiko storyline was pretty lackluster for me. I was real like when her brother, again, we're going full spoilers here. When her brother got murdered by Stormfront, I was like, oh, okay, now this is gonna be the Kimiko season. Sick. I want the female to go berserk, and she's not even the one who gets rid of Stormfront.
Yeah,
It, it
it
it's Ryan, and that.
technically,
Oh,
if
good.
it wasn't for her, and I mean, not even if it may have not even been Ryan, unless Maeve stepped in, right? Like, because Stormfront would have just won that, and then would have ended up going on, and who knows how that everything else would have ended up, if they didn't have that little bit of a delay in action, technically,
Yeah,
right?
no,
Um,
for sure.
but I agree. The Kimiko thing with that, her story kind of, there was that build up, and then it was just like, woo- like it
And
was
it
just
went
kind of
nowhere. I
like,
mean, you
and
had that like sort of side story that one episode where she's being an assassin, and it's like, okay,
Mhm.
it's cool, but and I get her relationship with French developing is kind of the result of what happened with her brother, but I don't know. I would have liked to have seen like I just didn't feel satisfied from it. I didn't.
Yeah, and I get like so. One thing I thought about this season at the end was, oh, or even during the middle, like, oh, I hope this is a building season, like just a background story season, like long form television in the sense of like we're trying to tell a story over the whole series, like a Breaking Bad
Yeah.
or a Game of Thrones, right? Where they have a story that they want to tell over the whole series. There's going to be seasons that aren't necessarily as exciting or impactful or have like these crazy like moments because they're need to tell stories that season. Like it's background, right? And I was like, oh, this is what this season's gonna be. It's gonna be more of a background season. Where I don't know if, especially with Kamiko, it's like a lot of it was just like, here's some information, but chop, 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 chop. We chopped it all off, and now this character basically, the only reason we need that information is because she doesn't speak. Like, there's really no repercussions of what we were told.
Yeah.
Now maybe there'll be repercussions for her losing her brother or whatnot, but basically it just ends with her and Frenchie being in a relationship and them kind of happy. Um, but did it play any effect on her character next season? Like, I don't see how any of this will play into next season or any of the information about her brother being a super terrorist or her brother dying, or any of that. Like, where is it going to go? I don't think it played anything, just as, like, oh, here's some background story for her.
I mean, you even have this moment right in episode 8 where Kimiko saying, "I don't know if I'm going to freeze when I see her," and you're like, "Oh, okay, this is going to be this is the moment that I've been looking forward to all season." She sees her and she laughs, and it's like, "Oh, okay, no, now we're gonna get it. Kimiko's gonna be the one to take out finally. She's gonna be the one to take out Stormfront."
Mm-hmm.
It also helps that she's not white, going up against a Nazi,
I didn't even
and
think of that.
yeah, there's like the subtext here. It's like really cool, and then nothing. I mean, actually, if you want to go really deep into the subtext, the fact that like, and I'm not saying that this is like where my train of thought is, but to have like the ethnic person get saved by two white women, and then a white boy is the one who takes out Stormfront is so like not as effective as it could have been.
Part of me, part of me. One of those white women was a ginger. Okay, and
Mm,
Nazis didn't like gingers. So there's
yeah.
still some,
No, there's a
I
little bit
gotta
of
I gotta protect my kind. Okay,
fair
we're,
point. Fair
we're
point.
not your average white person,
True. True. But yeah,
but we're
like
still
that
white people.
the fact that I was so excited for her character in the season
Yeah,
after episode
and
one.
then it just kind of fell flat almost with her storyline.
Yeah. And
I,
that's not
I
to
I
say that all
100%
the
agree. That's the thing. Like, there's still a lot of other storylines in this that did pay off to an extent. Um,
can I talk about my favorite
but
one?
yeah, of course.
So my favorite storyline that I think paid off is actually like a dual storyline. I think the relationship and the character growth of both Huey and Starlight was
Hmm.
excellent this season.
I was just thinking that I really
It's
like
my favorite one.
their relationship growth together. It made me happy because, like, I mean, I'm one of those people who, like, in a show when there's a couple that might be one of the main characters, I'm like, I want them to do well. Like, I just want to see them happy. I love love, so like seeing them like grow together, I was like, yes,
Were
like
you
that's
worried at the end of
awesome.
episode 8 that Huey was going to be like, "Yeah, I don't think we should be together"? Were you worried that that was going to be where
If
he was
they
going?
did that, I thought it would have been really weak writing.
Really,
Um,
really, really weak. Yeah,
really, really, really weak because it's like, what, like, huh?
and shows do that a lot.
Unless they did it, and then the start of next season, they were like, Huey was just having a full mental breakdown and trying to, like, during that mental breakdown, trying to flip exactly who he was, and then throughout the season fall back into like, no, this is who I am. Like, trying to almost like deny that he is that guy. Um, that would have been the only way they could have played it off, but it probably still wouldn't have worked out. So I was really glad that he was like, nah, I'm just kidding, because like that once again is like a lovable trait of like a jokey relationship that they could have with each other, and I really enjoy that because there was the moments of their relationship that you got to see, like where you see it click a little for one of them, click like that, like where they would like look, and it was like almost like the endearingness of, wow, you're ridiculous, but I like that about you. Like with the Billy Joel stuff and the just, I mean, Huey kind of being like a weak uh man in
As they
like the
called him,
eyes, yeah,
as Lamplighter called him, the cuck.
yeah,
Oh no, I'm sorry,
and
the cuck fluffer, right? Was that what it
yeah,
was that he
oh
called
yeah,
him?
he was a cuck lover, not even the cuck. Damn, that's a good insult, man.
Yeah,
That is a
seriously.
good insult.
But it for me, it wasn't even just their relationship. That's an aspect of it that I really enjoyed. But I loved that their stories were exact mirrors of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them are good people in this really, really dark world. You have Huey over here who's trying to save the world from the underground. You have Starlight over here who's trying to save the world from underneath who the world thinks is saving them. And their relationship with each other, their relationships with their squads, both of them trying to figure out whether or not they belong with those squads and how they can benefit their squads.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's phenomenal stuff. I love the fact that even the one having powers and one not, I think that everything about it just works so perfectly. I was really worried that Starlight was going to die in the 8th episode.
Mm-hmm.
Something about the vibe of it, the "Good Die Young" song in the car. There was just a lot of Homelander threatening to kill her multiple times throughout the season. I was just really worried that she was going to. I'm so
Yeah.
glad she didn't. Uh, I might be stepping on a later category. She's my favorite character of the season. I don't think she's the best part of the season for like that. I think that most people would find,
Mm-hmm.
but to me, I found her character to be awesome. I think she's so much better than she was last season. Just because last season she wasn't necessarily a focal point character.
Mm-hmm.
This season, I think she was able to show. They were able to show more of what that character could be and how integral she is to why the show works.
Yeah. Um, I agree. It was the character growth between both of them was fun to see throughout the season. And the fact that they gave Huey a purpose, because like a lot of people could be like, well, why is he here? And his reason was because he needs to hold Butcher in line. Like
Yeah.
he's what keeps Butcher tethered almost. Um, and keeps him motivated almost to going back because it reminds him of his brother and all that. So that I really enjoyed the fact that they solidified Huey because once again they're gonna need Huey next season, even though it's his path didn't necessarily end with being in the boys in this commission that might be coming on. Um, but we all know that he's probably going to end up having to work with them in one sense or another.
That'd be
Um,
great. Actually, I don't want to step on that category
yeah,
later
yeah.
on. Never mind. We'll talk about it later.
But one of my favorite storylines was actually Frenchie's.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't his character really appeals to me, and I don't know if it's where he's this like black market arms dealer assassin type guy. I don't really know what he exactly was, like bank robber assassin. I don't. He just seemed like
Slight
a
drug addict as well.
yeah, like he seemed like he had a very seedy background, like very seedy. Like the fact that they're like living in a basement, he just seems right at home. Like this is my life. Like was crazy. But you got this background story of that girl from season 1 that he was kind of with. And then they actually had another friend, and one of the reasons that their group originally broke up of the three boys was because Frenchie missed this. He went off the job to go help his friend who was ODing, and then in turn, Lamplighter torched kids. Like, so it was this. He had like a pivotal role in his background story to why a lot of the things in this world are the way they are. And I really like that. And then the love and the caring he had for Kimiko, I truly enjoyed, because it was so pure, in a sense of just like it's not like he lusts her, it's not like any of that. It's just there's something he sees in her that is just pure, as I said. And I really enjoyed that lightness to the show, or like that personality, and then where he was able to atone basically for messing up in the past, or messing up, because can you really blame him for what he did? And that's another fun question that the show brought up, is like, was he right, was he wrong? I mean, in some people's eyes maybe he was wrong, in some people's eyes maybe he was right. I mean, it's a hard choice, and I really enjoyed that storyline. And once again, I mean, I guess we'll just play into it now. He was my favorite character this season.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Wow.
I really enjoy his personality, his like witty humor, and just yeah. I mean, he's a fun character to have.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. In that he's like a really enjoyable portion of the show. I do, however, find myself wishing again with the Kimiko stuff with him. I wish I was even given a little bit more time to be fleshed
Yeah,
out, and more
which
time to kind of grow.
maybe we'll see it in the future. But I mean, we could hope we see it in the future. But I agree. It would be it's more maybe one-on-one moments with them. Maybe more moments, or hopefully maybe because now it seems like he knows the language, like her sign language.
Yeah,
Whereas like it was like I wish I saw more of that, him learning it, like maybe making mistakes and like having like little bitty jokes of him signing something and it not meaning the right thing, or like that could have been fun.
yeah, for sure. I feel like we have to talk about Homelander because when you talk about best performances of the season,
Oh,
I
he
think
is.
I think for me it's a tie between Carl Urban and Anthony Starr. Anthony Starr being the man who plays Homelander, and Carl Urban who plays Billy Butcher. I think that the fear that Homelander presents when he's on screen, the intimidation factor, the
Mhm.
almost a sense of like at any moment,
the
literally everything could
unhingy
go wrong.
the
Yeah,
unhinginess of it. Yeah, it's amazing how he's able to portray that. The fact that like this guy is 1 second from just losing it and just mowing down not just this city, but the entire world, right? Like I could see Homelander just like reaping through the country. Like what was that superhero movie where it was like this the horror movie, but it was supposed to be Superman?
Brightburn.
Brightburn. It just reminds me if Brightburn grew up a little bit and was able to like maybe had some therapy as a child, right?
Mm.
But that anger is still there, right? Because he just and the moments where he does let loose, it's so like, oh my god.
Well, you had that one dream sequence where he mows down the entire crowd.
I
with
thought that
the
was
laser
real. I
beams.
was like, it's happening. This is where it turns, and he turns into the super villain. I was like, finally.
Yeah, I'm not mad that that was a dream sequence, but
No,
it was like the show was telling you, like, hey, this could happen at
which I
any
like.
moment.
Which I like because it allows you to build him in the future and build that anticipation of, is he gonna break? Is he gonna break? Is he gonna break? So eventually, if they make the choice of him breaking and snapping, it's gonna be this payoff of just like, oh my god, because I feel like it's gonna be in a way of like he like
If they do
does
it.
some, yeah, if they do it, that when they eventually, maybe if, that it's gonna be some catastrophic like way. And I think that could be entertaining. I wouldn't say fun because that's not the proper word to use, but
Yeah.
entertaining to say the least.
How'd you feel about them, the way that they presented his relationship with Ryan, Becca, and maybe the conflict between him and Butcher?
Um, I enjoyed it because like he doesn't love much of what we understand. Like
He
he,
loves to be loved.
yes, he loves to be loved, but him caring for someone is very slim. There was 3 people we could probably name. I forgot the lady from the first season who he had that super weird relationship with, and then we saw them try to continue it just to keep him sane. Um, and then there was Stormfront, and then there's Ryan, right?
You're thinking of Madeline.
Yes. Um,
One sec.
yeah,
I'm
but
pulling it
her.
up. Yeah.
So there was a relationship with her. There's a relationship with Stormfront, and there's a relationship with um Ryan, and you could tell he doesn't truly care about anyone else except as a mass, like as a society. Like he doesn't care about each individual person. He will kill an individual person, but he wants,
Madeline Stillwell was her name, by the way.
yes, Madeline Stillwell. So, but he wants everybody else to love him, right? So he doesn't care about individuals, but he wants society to love him. Which is a weird thing because that's almost like a famous narcissism um trait. Like a lot of people in Hollywood probably kind of have that trait in a sense where they work on a set and they don't care about individual people, but they want to be loved by society, right? They want the masses to love them, to the publications, to people love them, but they might tell someone who asked for an autograph to like F off or whatever, right? So it's very interesting to see that in this guy who is supposed to be the big perfect superhero. Like Ryan asked him at one point, like, "Oh, you cry?" Because like that's how society views him, as like this. I'm perfect, like that. So he's Superman in this world, so he doesn't have flaws, except for when certain videos come out or he murders someone or those things. But his relationship with those people, it was interesting. I don't really have some deep seated thought on it besides it just it being um very interesting.
We also, I mean, for me, the relationship with Ryan is the most interesting. I think I really liked seeing Homelander's more, to say human side is a little bit overstated.
Softer,
I don't even know if soft is correct. I enjoyed seeing Homelander try to be a human,
empathetic, maybe, or
maybe empathetic,
because
but like seeing someone who is a monster in
mm-hmm.
every way, shape, or form. He's a murderer. He is a sexual assaulter. He is all these things. To see him try to act like a good person, but not like the cheesy good person that he is in the public. I mean, to kind of try and convince his son, hey, you should hang out with me and throw a baseball with with me.
Mm-hmm.
It's really really fun to watch him kind of. It's almost like watching him squirm. Like,
I also I
you know,
like the there's the one scene where they were trying to get Ryan to shoot the laser out of his eyes, right? And I don't even know if it was that scene. Maybe it was a scene after they flew off when they were in the restaurant. But he was talking about like, oh, I got nervous too as a kid. Like the first time I was in public, um, I
It was
it
after the
was after the
restaurant,
restaurant, right?
before
Yeah.
the lasers.
So I was I flew off and I cried. And I liked seeing that because it it does that, it gives you that that storyline or idea that people aren't made monsters at birth necessarily. It's kind of their environment and circumstances that sometimes fuck them up and then make them into those monsters. Um or that trope, that idea. And I liked that because I would like to see throughout the series a little more of him as a child, like kind of get maybe flashbacks or backgrounds of like maybe what they did to him, or had to make him this way, because he is a monster, and it seems like he probably was made into that monster because, once again, don't know the character's name because I'm bad at this, but the old man in the wheelchair that they have, who raised him, the doctor who, or the scientist who ended up like technically being his father figure, who was like, no, I messed up. Like I created a monster for scientific research. Like I there was this kid, the first kid who had like a soup, and I pushed him and I pushed him and I pushed him to become the greatest soup and symbol of soups. And we portray him as perfect, but he's a monster. And like it's all the higher ups at Vought know that.
You're referring to
Um
Dr. Vogelbaum, by the way.
yes, Dr. Vogelbaum, who's R.I.P. Head explodes. Um but it's it would be very interesting to see maybe just snippets. I don't know necessarily how they'd work it in, but snippets of his childhood.
Perhaps, I mean, it, yeah, it's just like it was it was cool just to see him even in reference to, when I was younger, I kind of had to figure all this stuff out on my own. Although at the
Yeah.
same time, you're kind of like, yeah, well, you're like a really awful piece of garbage. In regards to Ryan, though, how'd you feel about the decision to, number one, kill Becca, and number two, have Ryan be the one who is the one who strikes the blow that kills Becca ultimately?
I don't I I was kind of neutral with it when it happened, of almost like, well, what's the point? And then I was like, well, I like the idea that Butcher now has to take care of this kid and raise this kid and look after this kid, because people are like Homelander's going to try to get him. Maybe other people will try to get him. Um, and I like that idea that this is the kid he never wanted. He kind of resent it. It was a reminder of what happened with his wife and how she wasn't with him, maybe didn't love him or whatnot. And really, hates this kid. And then at the end, they're sitting there, and he gives him the necklace with Saint Anthony, right? I think it
It
is
was, I forget if it was Saint Anthony, Saint
Saint.
Nicholas.
Yeah, Saint something.
Oh, Saint Nicholas is
And
Santa Claus, right?
I think, yeah, I think it was Saint Anthony. I think Saint Anthony's like the protector. Um, but I like that. It was like, okay, he's having this turning point, but then there might be struggles, because you thought like when he picked up the crowbar, after it happened, you got the feeling of like, oh, he's gonna go try to kill this kid. Like,
See, I thought that he was gonna go and just bash in Stormfront's head.
yeah. Um, I thought so. What I thought originally thought, I was like, oh, what they're gonna do is they're building it up to make it look like he's gonna go after kid, and then he's going after Stormfront. That's what my mind played it as, like a misdirect. But I like the idea of that. And once again, it was one of those storylines that it's just like, okay, and then he handed him off to the government, right? Like he put him in the car with those people, and they're like, oh, they're gonna find you a family, or I didn't,
Yeah, so that was my thing.
I didn't like that.
I I was really excited for the prospect of Butcher having to be a father,
Yes,
especially a father to the essentially the son
memory.
of the man who ruined his life.
Yeah,
I thought that was really interesting. I loved the idea of. I mean, we saw Butcher's relationship with his father this season. I just think it would have been really great character stuff, and for it to for us not even to see one iota of it, and for it seemingly what looks like it might not come. I I'm very disappointed with it, if I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a very, very strange choice to make.
Now I get what people will say in response to that point is, well, this is a slow burn stuff. Also, Butcher says that he kind of can't be around the kid. He can't put his issues onto Ryan and make him a dark person. He needs to feel love. He needs to be in this warm and inviting environment, like the environment that Becca gave him. But it, okay, but that doesn't make for more compelling television.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I think that the relationship between Ryan and Butcher would have been really cool. I think it's the reason why Batman and Robin's relationship is compelling. Who cares if Batman has a sidekick if they're the same? I think it's really great to see Bruce Wayne kind of have to be a dad after being such a dark, lonely a-hole for 20 years of his life.
Yeah.
That's compelling. That's awesome. And I get that we might see it down the road.
Yeah.
But you also only have this child actor being a child for so long. Kids grow up really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that hopefully we're not getting a missed opportunity here. Hopefully next season they do get reunited and Butcher decides to take him under his wing. But as of right now, where we stand in the season finale, I was a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, and I think it would have led to so much good story for the fact that like you could use it where Butcher one is trying to be a good father but slips up, so you'll have that story ongoing. Maybe Butcher using this kid as a weapon in a sense, like
Kind of like he used the baby in season one.
yeah, yeah, but not as much as like here, but like have him be like, okay, this is what you're gonna do. You can go in, you're gonna laser beam those guys or whatever, and then other people be like, is that so smart that you're using a kid as a weapon? Like, what is he going to turn into in the future then if you're doing that now? Like, there could have been so many good storylines and questions I had to ask because of those storylines that it just seems like they just were like, let's just, give this kid away, which makes no sense either. Like, if anything, which I mean, I get technically the kid has no parents except for this maniac. But I don't know, because maybe next season will be Vought trying to get the kid, and the government
Maybe.
trying to protect the kid, and now Butcher has to protect. The government has Butcher protect the kid. But I don't really. Like, how are you gonna work him into this storyline? If they do, but if they just get rid of him, it feels so lazy. So that's it. Just leaves a lot of questions more than anything else, and like you said, disappointment. Which is strange because like although this last episode was very exciting, there was more disappointment than I feel like not. Like just like damn, they cut that off. Damn, they cut that off. And one of the biggest storylines that I was hoping was a build up, and the next season was like the story of the season was the fact that Stormfront was a Nazi and was convincing Homelander to start a genocide. Right? That could have made for such an interesting season next season if they built it up this season and then had this crazy maybe like a war or like this I don't know wildness for next season. Like that could have been such, and it would have been such an easy like not easy writing but like easy like okay, this is an idea that we could go with for next season. Now maybe they have an idea for next season and we're just so short-sighted that we don't see it or know of it. But like why build it up then? What was the point?
So that's where I was. I thought last night when I actually Thursday night, because I'd watched the show Thursday night, when I saw that Stormfront was fried to a crisp, but possibly isn't dead.
Not dead. You know she's not dead because they say she needs to be punished. And with the whole Kimiko thing of her breaking her neck, I think that was a little foreshadowing of like her not dying when she just had her neck broken, which would kill a person. So I think like unless you destroy Soup's brain, they're alive. Or they could regenerate.
Maybe. Well, yeah, that's the thing. I'm thinking that a lot of soups heal very, very quickly.
Mhm.
I do wonder if maybe they stopped that from being next season's storyline because a lot of what this show is, and objectively speaking, what makes the show pretty cool is that they subvert a lot of tropes. They don't go with what people are thinking.
Yeah, which I mean, maybe this, as I was saying, leads to a bigger buildup of their what their ideas are for the what the show's gonna be and what next season will be. And I hope
Yeah,
so. I'm just like so afraid to put my eggs in that basket and be let down because of previous or other shows I've watched. Like
yeah.
I'm
I was pretty excited to be honest with you. What with the idea of Stormfront bringing forth like essentially bringing forth soup terrorists
the
to the
second
forefront.
right.
Yeah, the Second Reich. Um, but yeah, I don't know. And maybe hey, maybe they saw Hunters on Amazon as well,
I
and
was
we're
just
like,
gonna
maybe we
say,
don't need.
I was gonna say that's exactly what I just thought. I was like, maybe Amazon was like, we don't need two Nazi shows. We are already seen as a bad company. Like
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can't have
maybe it
two
was
Nazi
like
shows on our programming.
exactly.
Good
Yeah,
point.
it's just that I feel it could have been really cool having like uh some wars going on between
Yeah.
the I guess like almost seeing kind of how like there's wars in real life, but
Hmm.
one fueled by like superpowers. I think that would have been really cool.
And it would have been cool if we had like almost like a where they this world's like Justice League and Justice League Dark type thing that have to
Yeah.
fight each other. But for somehow part of the Justice League Dark is the boys because you got to keep them in the storyline. Um, But once again, I'm hoping that the writers have a plan and that they're going somewhere that we're not thinking because they are good with that. And we've seen it throughout the series so far of like, hey, you think we're doing this, but we're doing this. Um, so fingers crossed.
Well, with
Um,
that being said, I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on where do you what do you think we could get next season? What would you like to see next season?
and one thing that you asked me once I watched it and I texted you and you're like, oh, well, what you think? And I said, I don't even know yet. Like, I still don't necessarily know. That's the biggest thing that like kind of defeats me because one of the things that I love about TV is, and this, as I said, the weekly releases was you're like, oh, and that fun moment where you get to think of like, oh, what could this happen or could this happen? Right now, I'm like, I don't really know. The only thing I do know is maybe they build up Victoria Newman or what's her name? The congresswoman who is a soup.
Uh, yeah, Victoria Newman. No.
Yeah, right. I think it's Victoria Newman, right? But they built her up. AOC Light as I think they're trying to get her to portray as like an AOC type character. Um, but maybe they build her up and she gets power, and then she's not a good person or a good soup. Um, or maybe she has a seedy underground that she's working with. I want to see a little more. Oh, we can't even see a little more from him. I was gonna say a little more of that church, maybe doing something.
Yeah, he's gone.
Um, but she blew his head up. Because it would be interesting if she's evil and Huey's helping her in a sense because he's working for her. So I think that could be a good storyline that maybe they'll go with. But besides that, I'm not really sure because like Homelander, he just seems almost broken now. I mean, the last thing we saw was him masturbating on top of a building, saying, "Well, I could do whatever I want," which you can't because you get in your own way of that in a sense. Like you're close to being unhinged, but there's certain things holding you back, and it's the love of the public. Um, and then like what's happening with the Seven right now? Like I don't know who's in the Seven technically.
So when they left where the show left off, A Train is in.
Yeah.
Black Noir is like
A
slightly in a
vegetable,
comatose
which
state.
does then it goes. Does the public know that, or once again are they just gonna say, "Oh, Black Noir is on a mission"? Like,
They probably will just say Black Noir is on a mission. You have Maeve, Starlight, and Homelander. So wait, Maeve, Starlight, Homelander, A Train. Are
That's it.
Are there only 4 members right
We're
now?
missing 3. Well, Black Noir. So technically, like you said, they'll probably keep them. So we still need 2 people, which is like,
Well, it's the 5 right now.
what are we supposed to do with that? Because they never
Yeah.
replaced A-Train when you think about it.
No. Well, Stormfront was supposed to be, I think.
Oh, but then wait, was there ever 7? Are we forgetting someone?
Yeah, they had someone come in to replace the Speedster, but he died.
Oh, did he die?
I'm
of
forgetting his
hearing,
name,
I'm
though.
assuming. Yeah,
I think so.
yeah. I think that's the guy he raced in the first season.
I believe you're correct because he had an orange costume.
Mm-hmm.
Can I tell you what I would like to see next season?
Yeah, I would like that. Yes, actually.
I'd like to see a whole lot of new. I want, if we're doing this thing where the seasons, because I think the disappointment that you're feeling is because season 1 ended with a really happy cliffhanger of Becca being alive,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the fact they kind of tied everything up at the end of this season left you feeling like, oh, that's not what I experienced last year. If this is the route they're taking, I want there to be a whole bunch of new characters. Last season, I think there was a slight, not a promise, but almost a like, hey, we could have supervillains finally.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the supervillains are the 7. Homelander is the supervillain of the show. So the show finds itself in this weird scenario where I think we kind of just need more superheroes, more soups. I think I would love to see them step up the fight choreography between soups next season. I really want to see just like a Dragon Ball Z style or John Wick style superhero fight scene. I want
I
something
agree.
massive. I also would like to see. I would really like to see Huey be in charge of the boys because he has worked his way up the ranks, quote unquote, the right way. And he's in charge of the team because they are working for the superhero unit.
That's so interesting. I that could be really. And then like, there's that power struggle of like, Huey being like, "I'm in charge," and then Butcher's like, "Do you think you're fucking in charge?" Like,
yeah,
almost
exactly.
like with Thor and Chris Pratt.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Star-Lord, by the way.
Thank you.
I just realized you were trying to get to the name.
I couldn't get
So I think it's necessary for Ryan to be in next season. If he's not in next season at all, I think it's a complete failure. A complete
loss.
failure. I think we need to see him. And he's kind of looming in the background. I'm wondering if we're gonna get Stormfront again, and I'm wondering if she's gonna look different, like have a different actress portray her.
Interesting. That could be interesting.
Because we never saw what she looked like in the 50s or 40s.
I hope
she had blonde hair.
because I really like this actress.
I do too. However, you can't have her be a superhero anymore. She's a Nazi. That's over.
People know her face. She's a super villain.
So you want her to come back and be full villain?
I don't think there's any other option, really. Can there be? Because I mean, her intents are now known to the world.
Unless they mask her up. Kind of like
so
Black
then
Noir.
they have a 3rd generation of her, like, because there was her as the original superhero, and now there's her Stormfront. So once again they rebrand her for a 3rd time. That would be wild. That would be so wild.
She's the ultimate corporate machine. It just so happens that she's also
that is true
a super Nazi. Yeah. So that's kind of where I would like to see next season go. We have the actor whose name I'm forgetting from Supernatural coming in. He's playing a superhero, I believe. I just want more new stuff.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if any of the previous storylines can be continued anymore. I think a lot of them have kind of wrapped up a little bit, and we could kind of just be in a situation where we're getting repetitive, and I don't want that. The only thing I would like to see continue, I'd like to see Huey continue to try to make the world better as he lives in a world full of dirt and grit. I want to see more of Stormfront, maybe even becoming the face of the 7 now, because she's the one who wasn't aligned with Stormfront. I mean, there's photographs of and
Starlight,
video
by the
of
way.
Starlight. I'm sorry, Starlight, There's videos and photos of Homelander being the boyfriend of Stormfront.
That would be very interesting because then it also it lends of Homelander dealing with not being the lead, because like that's all like he was when Stormfront came in. He was like, I'm the leader of this group, and like she was like, of course you are. Like she gave into it because that was what she wanted, because it fit her goal. But I think the company would have put her as the lead if everything went swimmingly.
Yeah,
So it
no,
would
for
have been
sure.
that could be that. I would actually really like that idea. And I mean, there's still some storylines I wanna dig deeper into with like Maeve. Like I'm curious to where she sits with now. Um, because she almost has Homelander wrangled in. Are her and Starlight good? I don't know. Um, does A-Train suck still? Like, cause he's kind of not a great person either, like in any sense. And do you want to see more of the Deep?
I'm good on him. I'm gonna be honest.
Like,
I don't want any more scenes with his shirt off.
does it? That's
It's
messed up, man.
no, it's disgusting.
It's your body shaming. Okay,
No, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. People don't have gills.
for a
That
reason.
I mean, did that not disgust you? Him like touching them and them flapping up and
Oh
down.
yeah, it wasn't fun. Them talking. It was, but I think that
It
was the purpose of that was like.
no, I get it. I couldn't look at the screen.
But we're gonna get more of that of just maybe with other people, like where. So one of the other things was I don't think they're done with this whole
The
Nazi
church.
background to the
Oh, the
V,
Nazi.
due to the fact that one thing Stormfront said was um she was having a conversation with Homelander. I don't even remember exactly what it was about, but she said the doctor who originally created it, he had a plan for that. I think they were talking about like giving everyone the V, then like your ideal picture of humanity will also be superpowered. And she said he had a plan for that. What I think was because they talked about when they give the V to adults, there's adverse reactions for some of them. Do you think it's non what Aryan race people would say pure people? They're the ones with the bad reactions. So only like Aryan type people as an adult can take the V and not die or hurt themselves with it, or go crazy. Um, which would be interesting because they're doing this if they continue with it in the government, this mass rollout of the V to create super soldiers and stuff to fight these super terrorists. So that could bring up a lot of problems for just the world. So that could be very interesting too. I'm interested to see what they do with this whole V being released.
Yeah. Uh, before we get out of here, we did get into quite a few negatives that we had with the season.
Yeah.
I would like to say that I still found it very compelling and a very entertaining show.
Yeah.
It's one of the few shows right now. You know, there's so many things to watch. I think that this is one of those shows that if you like superheroes, or if you don't like superheroes, either side of the coin, you could really enjoy the show because there's a lot of subverted tropes of superheroes.
Let me put it this way. My mom watches this show, which is very like it's very interesting because she usually watches like 90 Day Fiance and just some slapstick sitcoms on CBS and ABC and stuff. So like she even watches this show because she just enjoys it because it is funny. It has a good storyline. It's not taking itself too serious in a sense where there is a lot of humor background. And I love that. This show is highly entertaining. What we're Kyle and I are digging into is the storyline behind that entertainment. I don't. There wasn't really many points as where like there was an episode where I was just like, all right, let's get it over with. I thought every episode I was like, this is so much fun. Like I love what they're doing. They use superheroes in fun ways, and with that hospital, they use the superpowers in very different ways. Like,
Yeah.
and they played off a lot of things where like the guy who puked vomit, like he was his own demise. He threw up
Puked acid.
Acid, puke vomit. Wow. Where's my brain today? But like he was his own demise. Like threw up on himself and then it burned his face off. Like, it brings up all those ideas of people who like, you can't be these superpowers stupid because that person would just kill himself or whatever. And like, they'd lean into that. So that's very enjoyable. So even if you're not a huge superhero fan, watch this show because you do see a lot of superheroes having downfalls due to what they do. And it makes fun of superheroes in a sense as also promoting them as these just crazy badasses, like, and savages. So
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun no matter which way you look at it. It's highly entertaining.
100%. And I'm really looking forward to next season. Hopefully, COVID doesn't affect the
Good.
shooting schedule too much.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of stuff's been delayed. I mean, the Batman is now not coming out until 2022,
Do
which is
everything.
like,
There's no movies coming out for the next year, I feel like. Except for cartoons on Disney Plus, apparently.
yeah, it sucks. We're in a weird spot right now, and I hope that things can still be made, especially a show like this, which is something we really enjoy.
Yeah.
John, out of 10, do you have a rating for this season?
Um I'd give it an 8.5.
Oh wow, pretty high.
Because
Okay.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I still think it was a great show, but it's not a 9.5, or a 10 due to the fact that it did disappoint me in a lot of areas. But it didn't disappoint me to the fact that I thought like it was a bad season.
So here's the way I would put it. I'm gonna give it an 8. I think that there was so much great stuff that they introduced and ideas shown.
Mm-hmm.
I just think the execution on some of it wasn't necessarily the best for me.
Yes, that's a great way to think of it. It's like you hope for an outcome, and you got a good outcome, but it's just not the outcome that you really want it.
And maybe not even wanted is the best way to put it, but maybe another outcome just would have worked better for you.
Yeah.
There's just certain things that maybe some people would really enjoying about it. So
Mm-hmm.
this might be a perfect 10 to some people.
Yeah.
In fact, if you disagreed with us on any of the aspects of this season, let us know. If you're watching this in the YouTube video, in the comment section down below.
Mm-hmm.
If you are listening to the podcast, make sure to tweet at us or DM us if you want.
Right above our
John,
heads.
where can people find you if they're listening?
As always, Twitch TV / Ginger Gorilla Gaming, Instagram at Ginger Gorilla Gaming, Twitter at Ginger Gorilla Gaming. Just search it, you'll find it. Check out the YouTube if you're not on the YouTube. Check out the YouTube Ginger Gorilla Gaming. And where you can watch the podcast. And like Kyle said, let's get into a discussion. I really enjoy getting comments on these videos and like talking about this. That's why Kyle and I do this, is because we like to talk about it. I like when people have adverse opinions to what I have. It's fun. Like that's a good conversation. So let us know. And Kyle, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Buff Charmander. You can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/geeksweekly. Got some cool stuff coming out. By the time this is out, there will be a review for Enola Holmes. I always say that name incorrectly, so there will be a review out for that already. There's some Joker related stuff. I just did a Sweaty Dive podcast with our pal KG about Joker, and that's pretty good stuff in my opinion. I thought that we did a pretty good job on that one. You can also find me on John's stream. I'm there quite often, playing a lot of Among Us lately. Really hard game, especially with the way certain people play it. And by that, I mean randoms who hack the game or intentionally throw. A lot of Fortnites, all that good stuff. And by the way, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel and you're at this point, number one, thank you. Number
Yes.
two, subscribe to John's channel. Let's get his numbers up there. And yeah, I think that'll do it for us here, right, Johnny?
Of course, man. You guys, once again, thank you for watching, listening, whatever you've done to this. And peace out, everybody.
See you next time.